The Gallery of Half-Finished Futures. My name is Anya, and for 5 years, my life was built around Leo. Leo was brilliant, a sculptor whose work was all sharp edges and passionate, messy genius. He saw the world in ways no one else did. That's why I fell in love with him. He made me feel like my life was a work of art in progress. We lived in a cramped, beautiful studio apartment above his workshop. It smelled of turpentine and ambition. My ambition, mostly. I was the anchor. I managed his bookings, negotiated his prices, and kept the lights on with my freelance design work. I was the sturdy frame holding up the masterpiece. It was a good life, mostly. Except for one thing. Leo had this quirk: he never finished his best work. His workshop was his gallery of half-finished futures. There were stunning figures, vibrant and powerful, but with a missing hand, an unfinished face, or a raw, untouched base. He'd start a piece, get it to that breathtaking, crucial point of near completion, and then, he'd stop. He'd move on to the next bright idea, leaving the potential to gather dust. And that, I slowly realized, was exactly what he was doing to us. We had all the parts of a great life together. Shared dreams, deep history, passion, laughter. We'd reached the breathtaking, crucial point of near completion. But when it came to the big, vital moves, marriage, children, even just signing a lease that had both our names on it, Leo would stall. He would say, "Anya, darling, we're not ready. We're still evolving. Why lock down a form when we can still be fluid?" It sounded poetic. It sounded right. Until I looked around and saw all the other unfinished masterpieces in the room. Narrator. One cold Thursday, I found a rejection letter from the City Gallery on his desk. They had asked him to submit a piece for a major show, but they needed assurance the work would be finished by the deadline. He hadn't even responded. He'd just moved on to a new, smaller project, a distraction. I picked up the rejection letter, and it suddenly wasn't about the gallery. It was about us. Our relationship wasn't a finished work, it was another one of his brilliant, stalled creations, left at 90% completion because the final commitment felt too terrifying. That night, I didn't confront him. I didn't shout or cry. I just started to see clearly. Leo loved the potential of us. He loved the idea of our perfect future. But he was terrified of the responsibility that came with making the future real. And I realized my strength wasn't in continuing to be his supportive frame, it was in choosing to be my own. Slight shift in tone. A gathering of quiet resolve. Narrator. The difficult decision wasn't leaving. The difficult decision was accepting that the love we had wasn't enough to make him grow up. My commitment had been strong enough for two, but his was only strong enough for one, himself. The next morning, I stood in his workshop. Sunlight was pouring in, illuminating the dust motes dancing over the half-finished figures. I walked up to the piece I loved most, a powerful, elegant female form, missing only the expression on her face. I looked at it, and then I spoke. Not loudly, but clearly. "Leo," I said, "I'm not going to be a masterpiece left unfinished because the artist got scared. I'm choosing completion." Sound of a small suitcase being zipped, firm, determined footsteps. Narrator. I told him I was moving out. I didn't blame him. I didn't demand he change. I simply made a statement. This relationship has reached its final form with you, and that form is incompatible with the person I need to become. He was shocked. He promised he'd finish the projects. He promised he'd commit. He started to plead, reaching for me. But the beautiful, devastating truth was, I no longer needed him to change for me. I needed to be true to myself. I walked out of that apartment, out of the smell of turpentine and stalled potential, and stepped onto the street. The air felt cold, empty, and terrifyingly free. Conclusion. Strong, forward-looking, and warm. Narrator. Leaving Leo meant giving up a familiar, comfortable life that was only 90% complete. But standing there, on my own, I realized I wasn't just giving up a stalled future. I was starting a brand new one, a blank canvas where I held the brush. The most courageous decision a woman can make isn't staying for love, but leaving for self-respect. Because sometimes, the most beautiful masterpiece you can create is a life entirely your own.